Thank God.
So sorry about the false start. How's the lighting? Is Dan bright enough? He's always bright enough.
Just got a very pink face.
Hello and welcome to Zelf on the Shelf. I'm
The show where we keep scamming celebrities into coming on. We don't know how it keeps happening.
Because you guys are so cool. That's the honest
It's because
truth.
we're so cool.
Literally the coolest people in the world. Zelf on the Shelf.
You just push through imposter syndrome long enough and fake it till you
And
make
suddenly
it.
celebrities are like, hey, you guys seem really cool.
They
You've
tried
been doing
to
this
you.
a long time.
The truth is I'm under hypnosis, guys.
Yeah, we are joined today by danbanbam,
Hello.
TikTok sensation, Vibe Police, and as many of you will remember him from Provo's Most Eligible.
Yes.
You're on season 2.
Season 2.
Dan was the star of season 2. I mean, we tuned in for him, and we tuned in to hate on, I don't remember the blonde guy's name at this point, but
Remington.
yeah, that was when you were at Oh yeah, what's Remington
There was a couple
like in
blonde
real
guys. I was like,
life?
oh, there were a few blonde guys.
I was thinking of the one that B ended up with. What was his? Walker.
Walker,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
Walker.
Texas Ranger.
I also forgot his name, low-key. I was like, I hope that's not like shade. I don't want to like...
He's
like,
watching this
Who?
just devastated.
Who is Walker? I don't even know him.
So you were at BYU,
I was at BYU.
and you're from Zimbabwe,
Yes.
and you went on Provo's Most Eligible.
Yeah.
What's happened since then? Who are you now? What are you now?
Who am I? And that's, wow, I have like an existential crisis right here. A lot has happened, honestly. So I dropped out of BYU following Provo's Most Eligible, mainly because of the whole like BYU and gay policy. It just felt like very limiting. I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. I was not doing well in my classes as well. Like I was doing all generals at that point. I had done amazingly well. I was doing communications too, so it was also like super easy. But I kept doing these statistics classes and all this stuff and getting like C's, and I was like, this is terrible for my GPA. Also, I don't need to be here. This is a homophobic school. So I decided to just drop. I was like, we'll leave it alone, leave it in the gutter. Started working a whole bunch of odd jobs on the side with TikTok. And now I work at an ad agency. But I am starting up stand-up again and TikTok. So you're going to see more of me, hopefully.
Right now, you have a huge following on TikTok.
Huge.
Like over 1 million, right?
Yes, yeah. I was the it boy of BYU TikTok. So for
You
a while.
like single-handedly vibe checked the internet.
Yep.
There was like a solid period where you were Twitter, you were TikTok.
And it
was
didn't
very
get
fun.
old.
No.
I was literally like, it's so weird because people still send like links to like Reddit videos where people are just reposting vibe checks, and I was like, okay, well I guess this is the one that comes back all the time is the cake video. I don't know if you guys know that
The
one.
cake, yes.
Wait,
Everything
remind
where
Yeah.
everything is cake.
I saw that again
yeah.
recently, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is so good.
That was a surreal moment because like I just had so many weird celebrity interactions. Like Steve Aoki recreated the video, and I was like, one, I mean, I love Steve Aoki's Pursuit of Happiness remix that he had on the Project X album, but other than that, I didn't really have a point of reference. Again, no shade to Steve Aoki. He's again devastated, I'm sure, but yeah, just weird stuff happening. I got put on like E! News for that sort of stuff. Featured in Variety magazine, BuzzFeed. What is that other weird one? Funny or Die. I've been featured in all that stuff. So yeah, just doing big things here and there. I don't want to like, thank you for letting me like brag a little bit. Yeah, it was very
Yeah,
fun.
like, please brag more. I feel like we still haven't said enough about what a big deal you are.
What's real fame like?
Let me tell you two.
So, no.
Can you just quick give us like you told us you left BYU and all that, but like, you know, this channel, a lot of us became familiar with you through Provo's Most Eligible, where at least at that point you were, for as far as we knew, a believing member, though.
Yes.
You came out during the series, right?
Yeah, right the week I was eliminated. I was like, I need to tell people. I was like, this is getting a little out of hand, so yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of our audience would like to understand or hear a little bit about your transition out of Mormonism and out of BYU and the decision to come out, and then we can talk a little bit about the show.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of tea to spill there. I put this thing on.
Non-caffeinated, of course.
Oh, yes, of course. I guess kind of like faith journey-wise, at least. Obviously, I said I was a believing member while I was filming. To be honest with you, I wasn't. I was pretty sure at that point. Kind of a weird realization I had during filming was just how gay I was, right? Maybe that's weird to say, but
no, it makes perfect sense.
I was like, if this is what straight guys are supposed to be like, and this is what these women are attracted to, I am anything but. And so I was like, this is just not good. And so the day I actually we filmed the elimination where I got eliminated. When I asked to leave, I was like, hey, I don't want to be filming this anymore. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff, as well as like I just didn't feel. I was like, it's a waste of time at this point. It was really fun to film, but then I just kept not getting eliminated, and I was like.
And it seems like a lot of work.
Yes.
It's quite long filming.
Yeah, it was depending on if you were in a dating week, it was 3 days of filming, right? But it was just a lot of time, and at that point, I had started growing an audience on TikTok and started putting out content that was going viral, and so for the longest time I was just literally trying to navigate scheduling all this, like it was a whole new world that I had never been introduced into. And so I had to ask Remington. I went to Remington humbly and was like, please send me home. I don't want to be here.
Humbly.
And him
you
and
walked
me.
into his lair. He's got like a big black chair that turns around. I can see it.
Hello. So yeah, basically I just asked. Obviously they eliminated me that day. I just put this on my story yesterday, but fun fact about the day I got eliminated, I had a really bad sunburn and it had blistered. All of my shoulders were just wrecked. And B was saying goodbye and didn't know that I had blisters on my shoulders and jumped.
Oh,
very high energy B, B's just trying to she's very loving, right? So she just hugged me super hard and popped all the blisters.
No, popped.
It was just crazy. And so that's a little bit of tea from the show, which is fun. But yeah, that night, I have a lesbian aunt, amazing writer. Her name is Elle Spencer. She writes lesbian erotica, if anyone's interested. But she's fantastic. And she came out, and I remember growing up watching her coming out to my parents, particularly my dad. I grew up with, obviously, just that generation's homophobia, right? Everything's gay, everything, My parents were never judgmental. My mom loved gay guys, and we always watched Project Conway and Queer Eye, but never really talked about it, And then when my aunt came out, it suddenly became this hard discussion about queerness, where it was what do we do? My parents were we love, her name's Linda, what do we do? And then we came on vacation here, actually, to Utah, where Linda was living. And one morning, she just kind of barged through the door with McDonald's, and she was like, kids, I need you guys to all go upstairs. I'm going to have a conversation with your dad. And so we all did. And it's a small house. You could kind of hear everything that was happening. Obviously, we weren't trying to eavesdrop, but we heard some of the conversation. And it was her coming out to him and being like, look, I need you to, love me. I need you to, care about me. I'm your sister. I am going to stay present in your life, whether you like it or not. So we need to start acting like it again. And my dad was like, yeah, I agree. And so that was, the first big example I had of, again, just being proud to be gay, queer, right? It was just really fun to watch that. But obviously at the time I was still Mormon. So it was
Did you, know you were gay at that point?
I think I definitely did. I mean, even staying here, I was excited. I'm a very open book, so I'm just going to say this. I was excited because there was high internet speeds, and I was like, I can watch videos. I can watch porn. That was the thing. I was like, I'm very excited to see the kinds of porn I can watch. I sat in a hotel room in Vegas, and yeah, I saw my first video porn, because in Zimbabwe, internet speeds are trash. So you just have to look at pictures and use your imagination where it went. You were the single picture is exciting. That or you just had to look at like guys in short shorts. I don't know. It was very interesting. So that was an exciting part for me at least. And kind of watching that night when I got eliminated from the show, I called Linda and I was just like, hey, I'm gay. I don't know what to do about this. How do I navigate this? I don't know what to do. And I was like, I've also just filmed this straight dating show. And I was like, I've just put out into the world that I am like straight and I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did it, and so I don't know what to do. And she was like, well, let's just talk about it. At that point, I had come out to my family, immediate family at least. So they all knew. Their reaction was great. My parents hugged me, were just like, we love you. There was still a little bit of like, you could maybe get married to a woman one day. You never know. You never know. And I was like,
we never
know. We never know.
Just keep that door open.
Yeah, just in case. And so it's just been like, as soon as that happened, we had this long conversation about kind of what I wanted to do, what I was going to do about BYU, what I was going to do about going to school, the church, all this sort of stuff. Because I had a meme account called Provo Life that was prominent too.
Oh, yeah.
She had seen that and she was like, you have a lot of fans that are Mormon. And I was like, don't tell anyone this, Linda. Because that was still when TikTok was like still on the low. Like people knew about it, but they were making fun of it more than they were like leaning into it, And at that point I remember filming and I hit 500K followers at that point on TikTok. And I was like, I know I have 30,000 on Instagram on Provo Life, but I have 500,000 that I'm pretty sure are all like queer teens being like, we love you, yes. So I was like, I'm pretty sure like that sort of stuff won't go away. And she was like, as long as you feel confident, as long as you feel like yourself in a lot of ways, you'll be fine. And so it was a little bit of like a stress being like, what's going to happen? How's BYU going to react? Because I'd heard horror stories about the Honeycutt office when just finding out about people being gay and then just being on their back about it. And I was like, that's going to be a whole different thing I have to navigate. But Linda was great throughout that whole process. My family was great throughout the whole process. My sisters were like the ones who told me to ask to leave. They were like, you're gay. You should just like, even when I got put on the show, my sister was like, dude, you're gay. Stop. Why are you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. It might just be like a fun experience. But I was like, also like, maybe it's a good opportunity to show people that like gay people are like...
Can be straight.
I hate it.
No, I mean, I just assumed, this is a comedian who's on the show for a laugh. And also, I felt like you were like one of the only redeemable men on the show. So it was like... Thank God they had you.
I throw that into my set occasionally to kind of preface some stories about Provo's Most Eligible. It's just that, like, it's so weird that, like, I became a fan favorite, and I was like, and I think it was just because I, like, respected the women. Like, I was just like...
And, like, with so few of them, I feel like didn't really have personalities. You were mostly just seeing their dysfunctions. You weren't seeing, like, an actual personality. Yeah. Because it was all just, like, them... displaying their weird ideas about dating and it was just all very like
you never got a person that is that is so
to just
true.
Have someone just be themselves and just be like you and B clearly had like you guys had the best relationship on the show.
Just like human to human connection.
Exactly. Well, that was how it was. I was so excited to film with B every week. Like that was like the nice part about it was just because B is such a lovely person just naturally. Just a bright smile, like immediately high energy, obviously, but like so fun to be around. And so we would just shoot the shit every time we were on camera because she'd be getting changed otherwise. But then we'd come up with weird ideas to film as well. We'd go to Remy and be like, we want to go and like film a scene where we're like dancing on the hills of the golf course. Is that like okay? And they were like, sure, if that's what you want to do. And so we just did it. And that was the thing is that it was always friend energy, but I don't know if I've ever actually asked B if she was attracted to me. No, that's a lie. I think she said that she was not necessarily attracted, but she was like, I was interested because you were a funny, nice person.
Didn't she say on the show, she was like, she said something about her had always been friend vibes, but she was like, we just get along so well and he's so fun to be around. Yeah. It was kind of ambiguous.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, now after hanging out with B, it's very funny how she actually like almost attracts gays. Like she's like so many of her friends are gay guys. So she's just that person where she's just so loving and accepting of everyone. And then all of her friends have come out, like so many friends have come out, and yeah, it's just been wonderful to kind of be in that circle. But yeah, then finally the show came out. It was very interesting just because there was so much drama happening. I actually was so far removed from all of it that only when it started like airing did I get involved in any of the like drama. But people started like including me on all this like, I don't know, it was just kind of crazy. There was like the Jake and Lauren stuff and people being like, we shouldn't. I don't know, like, yeah, people were like taking sides on certain situations, and I was like,
we were some of the ones taking sides.
Took hard lines in the sand. You're dead to me now.
So it was just kind of wild to like, get thrown back into it, and then immediately kind of right off the bat be the fan favorite, and everyone's like, we love this. And then I go to like viewing parties, and people would be like, well, some of the cast would be like, oh, I guess you're the fan favorite. And I was like, yes, thank you. We went to that like giant, what was it? It was like premiere party, I guess, for the broadcast. And when I came on screen, the whole crowd like cheered and was like, yeah. I felt very embarrassed. It was really fun. Like that's all that experience was for me. It was just like, this is weird that this is happening right now. I was like, this is so wild. And then, but yeah, people just were not excited about it, and that was partially also why I wanted to come out too. As I was like, I'm getting a lot of like negative attention from these people that I have to hang out with while this is airing, and I don't want to do that. So I was like, this really sucks. But then eventually I was like, I can be choosy about who I hang out with. What am I doing trying to please everybody? So that was another aspect there.
It's wild for me to imagine you getting like a negative anything from people.
Oh,
I think I'm just like, you're so likable.
Elder Holland is drafting a talk right now where he's like, Provo's most eligible dating site is no place to commandeer to come out.
I'm waiting for the moment. I'm waiting for it. And that was the thing. It was like so weird to have, just some like weird drama happening. So I didn't want to be involved in it. I tried to avoid it as much as possible, but people were like being weird. And then there was also people disrespecting certain people. Like some guys, I don't know if I should say their names, but some guys were being like just dicks to, are we allowed to swear on live streams?
Yeah.
Okay,
you can do pretty much whatever you want.
Honestly. Dicks to who?
We're being dicks to be.
To you? Because there were some like MAGA guys. To be.
To be. Also to me, yeah. But I mean, there was not like...
that were on the show?
People that were on the show. So there was like drama with the people that had dated, or like on their teams, I guess. Like at certain points, there were some guys that wanted to like after the show date like Lauren, or they wanted to go to B that were on the other teams. But then it was this weird navigation of like, branch out into like, I don't know. It was just so weird how they handled the situation. And then B got her heart broken a couple times by a couple of the guys.
Multiple guys in the show?
2 guys. Technically.
Oh my god, send us a super chat and Daniel will say who. If the price is right. Yeah, if you want to ask Daniel a question generally, super chats is your best route.
Yes, super chats.
On account of me and Tana need the money.
Yeah, get the money. But it was just super weird. Anyway, so
everyone came out switching teams.
It
was the main function of that.
Yeah, and well, I didn't. So there was the gap in between airing and filming to airing, where all the drama happened. Like that's where everything essentially. That was, I guess we filmed the summer, so I think we finished in July filming, and then started school in September, and I think we started airing either end of September, beginning of October, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So it was a decent portion of time, and I didn't know. And so I'm just doing communications classes. It's like the week that the show's about to air.
Did you not think it would be a huge thing?
I knew it was going to be like somewhat big, at least in the community, like within
the second season.
Yeah, BYU community, right? Like I was like, people are going to want to see this. I knew it was a bigger production too, so I knew it was going to be like a bigger deal technically, right? Like people could be like, wow, they really like went all out. They did the golf course, and they all did it for free, which is mind blowing. Like they got all the venues and stuff absolutely free, and so that was kind of wild. Just from the perspective of someone who now films stuff, I was like, you got like multiple camera crews, people to come in. You had like, I don't know, they had like catering at certain points.
They had sponsorships. They did a non-profit fundraiser at one point.
It was wild. And so that was like...
Way to go, Remy.
Just kind of crazy, like, to even film that process. But then you had the drama of people going... So maybe I can spill this tea. I don't think people mind this.
Yay.
But there was just a lot of drama in between all of the airing because B had chosen Walker. And Walker kind of... I don't know. Again, I don't want to get in trouble for this, but
it might work if you
Walker just kind of moved on very quickly. They both kind of agreed that they like eventually weren't like a good fit, and so.
I mean, we definitely got that vibe from the show. The vibe we got was like he wants to win the show.
Yeah.
He likes to be a bit, but she is looking for something way more serious with him than. Yeah.
And that was the thing is then Keaton, who I had become a lot better friends with.
The runner-up for B.
Runner-up for B that everyone wanted to win.
He was like a Democrat or something.
Yes,
He was a Democrat and he had
He's
a
left the
meme
church
account.
too.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can share
Keaton.
that.
Keaton, come on!
Oh, we knew it. They called
Let's
it.
get him.
Someone owes us money.
I was like a weird leader of that. I was like, are you sure you guys want to stay in the church? Everyone wants to stay in the church? Okay. That's the only one that I'm pretty confident in being like, yeah, that happened. But Keaton and I became good friends, and he was kind of disappointed because he really loved B during the filming of the show. Like, I think he genuinely, like, really started to develop love.
Keaton.
But the problem and issue is that these people filmed this show in 6 weeks and were like, we are absolutely all in love with each other.
Yeah.
And then we're expecting it to last. And so that's where I was like, I get that it hurts, right? Like for B and Walker, it sucked because I had to watch B be like, like I really liked this guy and
How
he
long
doesn't
did they
like me.
date?
It was about
the
like
show?
2 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah,
That
it was
sounds
very
like
quick.
What we
very quick.
expected.
Typical BYU dating scheme.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so like to watch that, I was like, okay. But then my whole thought process was just like, but you guys all were like, and again, we weren't even like dating the whole time.
Right.
People were dating.
So it's really not 6 weeks.
3 weeks max, maybe. Like Lauren and all of these people. And there was drama all of, like with all that sort of stuff too. So like I was just watching all these people have this crazy drama, and then obviously Jake and Lauren. How I even found out about all of this stuff in between all the airing was Jake. I met him outside the communications building at BYU, and he just spent like 2 hours filling me in on like everyone having this crazy drama, and it all came out in the what was it, reunion episode.
Oh yeah.
Right, Lauren and Jake confronting each other, Walker being confronted by B. So it's not really like tea per se, but it was very interesting to kind of watch it all unfold, and then they try and go to like watch parties together and act like normal, and it was just like, this is just not normal, guys. Like, please, like this is so different. And so yeah, just kind of a crazy journey in between all of that stuff. But then, yeah, finally, eventually came out the week I was eliminated. Should I also pause? Maybe I should wait for Sam. But yeah, but then just came out the week I was eliminated. While I was dealing with all this drama, I was like, I need to do something of my own. So I actually messaged Keaton, because at that point we became, honestly, like very good friends. It was also interesting because he stopped hanging out with Kwaku, and that's why we became good friends.
Oh, he was
Speaking
friends
of
with
tea,
Kwaku?
He was best friends with Kwaku.
Keaton was?
Yes, they were best friends.
Oh.
And they were like my ride to filming days, or at least
Kwaku
the
and
first
Keaton?
week, just Keaton mainly. But I rode with Kwaku one time. But we have these car rides, and we became best friends. So I decided to come out to Keaton. Came out to B. This was all a week before.
To Kwaku.
Hi, Kwaku. I'm gay.
Someday I'll be on your nemesis's podcast.
Yeah, it was just that's a whole different bag. Just so crazy. But literally just Did he record a podcast about me?
Oh, not about. He doesn't.
He hates you guys.
We have a rule
Yes.
where we do not. We're not.
We don't. Zip up. I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat.
It's the best way to do
Well,
something like that.
somebody
Super chat time.
is paying to hear some tea on the MAGA dude from the show.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Fred
Scott.
Eaton.
Was it Scott?
This is Scott.
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah. Wait, what did they want to know?
Any tea.
Just kind of
behind
any
the
tea.
scenes dish on MAGA dude from the show.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I like literally just came into memory yesterday, as I was kind of like revisiting all this stuff, was one of our camera guys was liberal and stormed off the set because MAGA guy sat down for an interview and just started like kind of going off in like very MAGA. I don't know, just like a lot of MAGA narratives, right? And so, yeah, we had this huge drama where we heard this giant bang, and this guy was just like, fuck you! Which is weird to hear on Provo's most eligible set.
Yeah.
Right? Like, swearing wasn't like the common thing. It would have been more fun that way, but as the only person who swore on the show, too, I was like, okay, well, great. Someone else has did it better than me. I just heard, I remember I was doing an interview, and I just heard, fuck you! Went outside, guys were like calming the camera guy down. I can't remember what he confronted him about, but everyone was like super weird about it. They were like, yeah, and he just like stormed off. And I was like, that's valid. And then you had like, so you did have Keaton and I guess Kwaku, kind of defending more the like liberal side.
Isn't Kwaku conservative now?
He is, and that's what's such
but at the time he
such
was
an interesting.
liberal.
He was like moderately, yeah. I don't know what it was. We had a couple interactions. He got eliminated early on, so I was like, yeah. Again, zip the lip. He's got his own issues and problems, but Keaton and I were like, this is a like. What did he say? And people were just being very vague. So I don't know what all the drama is there. I wish I did, but we just heard
he was like,
camera
great
guy
replacement theory.
So just kind of a wild, yeah, so crazy. In terms of like his personality, I guess, Scott it was very interesting because I guess while the show was airing, we had to hang out. Obviously, all of us were that was another weird thing. We were all kind of going through the drama of it airing. And luckily I was a fan favorite, but a lot of people had to deal with like people being like, you're the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy is terrible. And so they all had these moments where it was like, okay, well, yeah, you're touching a girl's knee without like just weird shit was happening on the show, and I was like you need to understand that like they're not like being critical so much as they're just being like, hey, this is weird behavior, and they'd be like, no, they hate me, and I was like, okay, well, fine.
It's easier to just believe it, that people hate you.
Exactly. And he won, and that was there was drama. Behind the scenes tea with this. They filmed their date, the
Ellie
final
and
date.
Scott.
Yeah.
Ellie, wasn't she like 19? She was very young.
She was 19, yeah. I also forgot about Ellie. Wow.
I just want to say the Tomsters is in the chat. Very funny.
Hi, Tommy.
It says Dan, the closeted gay on the show, and Kwaku, the closeted conservative.
We are big Tomsters fans.
Yeah, come on sometime.
Juicy tea that I just remembered was Ellie and Scott's date was actually filmed after the show had been done filming.
I think we heard that. I don't know how.
But they had actually gone through and they seemed pretty solid. Like, we were like, oh yeah, like they love each other. Apparently there was some drama and they broke up, but then they had to film their episode, like, I think even maybe it was while it was airing too. They filmed an episode, and so you can actually see Ellie's actual boyfriend in the background while they're doing the date. And they were like, can you guys just like act like you love each other? And they hated each other, so they were like, nice. Oh wow, yeah, you're so funny. And you can see, when you know that, you can hear it in Ellie's voice where she's just like, wow.
We just thought it was
great.
The general
Yeah,
lack
we're
of
just
chemistry.
like, wow.
We didn't notice anything different.
Like, wow, this sucks. Normal.
Like, this seems right for the show.
Well, and that was the fun part too, is Ellie, super quiet on the show. The show aired, and I didn't realize, but we gained, and again, we only had a couple interactions, but it was so fun to kind of meet her as an actual person and talk to her, because I didn't interact with her at all, really. It was like Lauren and B mostly, but mostly B. And so to hear like Ellie tell her side of the story and kind of like spill tea and be like, just go off about stuff was so fun to like
off on Scott.
Yeah, just go off on Scott and the whole situation and be like, it was so weird. I hated that. Whoa. And I was like, oh, I wish this was the Ellie that we got to see on the show.
Yeah. She was a mouse.
She was...
When she's ready for her tell-all.
We were so worried about her because we were like, Scott seems like a guy with aggression and she seems so like pliable.
Well, and I think that's why it just didn't work out because then she found... I don't know what the update on Ellie is. Honestly, I don't follow a lot of the people still. But as far as I know, she was living her best life.
Didn't she?
She did get married, yeah. So, and I think it is the same guy from the show, from the episode.
She got married
also,
too?
She was hired first.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, in the background, sorry. She was hired as a social media person first on the show.
Yeah, we knew that as well.
And then randomly got... Remy was like, I guess they had a girl pull out last minute, and he was like, we need a girl.
And
she was like, I think there was hesitation. Yeah, something about like schedule. Actually, I think it was.
Okay.
I think the girl who pulled out was a nurse, maybe, if I remember correctly. But then Ellie was there, and Remy was like, "Do you want to just do it?" I don't think she was like gun ho about it, but she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll try it." And I think that's why she honestly like stayed quiet. I think it was more like I don't want to be here. But then I think she found love in Scott while they were filming, and so that kind of changed it a little. But then the final episode is her just being like, yeah, you're such a great guy. Wow. Yeah, such a good person. And so, there was all shade the whole time, which was fun. Also, listening to the camera crew talk about it is the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah. That's what I would love to
be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. They were just, shout out to Sophie Tellez, if anyone wants to like follow her. But her and I, on set every single week would just sit in the room by myself or with each other, and we'd just talk about all the tea or the weird stuff that was happening and be like, these people are crazy, right? And we were like, they're crazy. And she was like, just wait until it airs. It's going to get crazier. And it did. And so, just kind of wild journey. But back to Scott's personality. He's what you expect, but he also isn't in that. I think it was honestly more of a character to be as conservative as he wanted to be. Because when you talk to him, he seemed very normal. But I guess that's anyone, right?
I get what you're saying. And I could totally see Scott being someone that, like, if you just met, you'd be like, he's a friendly guy.
Yeah. I think he came on to the show being like, I need to be this person.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't wear your MAGA hat in the interview. You wouldn't spout off about... Because, like, that's not a way to, like, do well on a dating show that people are going to watch.
And I think he also... It was very funny because he also did... I think he knew that... sorry, it keeps coming up, but Kwaku was head of BYU Dems at one point.
Yeah.
And so I think he also kind of wanted to confront Kwaku a little bit and be like, heard you're a Democrat. So like one week they genuinely like had like a very long conversation beforehand. It was him, Keaton, and Kwaku.
Can't imagine a worse conversation.
It was just
Scott and Kwaku arguing about politics.
It was just such an interesting time. But yeah, and then everyone was kind of friends for a while, and it felt like that. And then it was all very different. It just kind of changed. Obviously, the reunion episode came out, and it was just all the drama. Everyone wanted to like share what their feelings were about the situation without like talking to each other about it. And so a lot of people were crying on my shoulder backstage in the Megaplex in Geneva. Like I was like in the hallway, like. They're there.
I bet you were.
Camera crew, all of the contestants. Like, it was just, very interesting.
It's a shame hardly anybody on the set drinks, because that could have been so messy and
fun. I wish.
Really quick, Ian Harris just sent $5 for the Tomsters interview fund. If we get $40 more, we guarantee that we will harass the Tomsters until we get them on there.
I love Tommy.
So switching gears really quick.
Yeah.
You've done the show, you've come out, but then you're still a member of the church.
Yes. Yeah.
What was that transition like into what you're doing now? Where are you at? What's your journey been?
Yeah. So, essentially what ended up happening after I came out was, I don't know. It was kind of a weight off my shoulders, and I felt happy about it, but I was also kind of weighed down by the idea of love, mainly because and this is just speaking to the weird culture at BYU, I had tried to navigate it a lot. I had done conversion therapy while at BYU. Nothing like intense, but just like, general, like, be a man. Let's figure out how to make you a man. Like, you need to be more of a man. And it's like, I am a man, but I am gay. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I dress worse than any gay guy. Like, I very clearly present as straight. Like, I was like, it was just a very different time for me.
And fun fact from Dan's therapist, did you know if you exercise enough, you actually won't be gay anymore?
Yes.
That's just a little tidbit.
Sweat it out.
Yes. Also, I had one of my therapists ended up running away and leaving his family for a man. So,
hell yeah.
Which is always the narrative, but yeah, it's always so stupid. But so I'd done that sort of stuff, and I tried to get like answers there. I tried to go to one time I went to my bishop, and it was really weird. There was a guy that I was kind of falling for. We just always hung out, and I always wanted to like just hold his hand. And like, I was just like, I really like this guy. I wish something could happen. He is also gay now, which is also fun. But it was just weird. And so I went to my bishop, and I was like, hey, I have like a concern. And he was like, oh, great. And I had a calling at this point. I was like a teacher in the elders quorum and all sorts of things. And he was like, what do you want to talk about? And he had kind of, because I had told him I was gay at that point. He asked me to help out. I had a roommate who was gay and was very openly gay, and he was like, you need to help keep him in the church. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry, I'm not gonna be that person. I was like, no, I'm good. Which was also kind of fucked up because personal information, like, it was just very interesting. He told me way too much. And so I went to him just being like, hey, I want to ask you a question. Like, if God is love, and I feel like he is, I was like, if God is this like being who creates and develops love, why am I like feeling feelings for this guy that I feel like I love? Like, I was like, it's not that I want to have sex with him, it's that I want to hold his hand. And I was like, that doesn't feel like Satan. Like, I was like, Satan's like, by my definition at the time, was like porn and like
video.
He wants you want to see him naked. And so I'd never really had a point of reference for like what love looked like until that point. And so went into it, and he just raged.
Oh, I bet, because that's the most threatening narrative to a homophobe, is like the idea that it's not just about sex.
Yeah.
Like that, as soon as you said that, I was like, oof.
Well, and it was just so weird to have this to have him, a bishop that I trusted, have this very visceral reaction to what I thought was kind of like a decent question, right? Like, I was like, I think that's
such an innocent question.
Exactly. And so I actually backed off. I was like, I think you misconstrued what I said. I meant to say.
Oh my God.
And I just because I felt so like scared, like I was like, oh, this is weird. And then suddenly callings got revoked and stuff. And so I was like, interesting. And then I became like an FHE dad. So I was actually happy about that. I was like, I can just chill and get free money to get pizza parties going. Was essentially kind of the vibe. But I had all of those kind of like weird examples up until that point, where, and that wasn't the only instance. Obviously, there's more. But like, just watching straight white guys talk about gay guys in such a terrible way, it scared me to even think about hanging out with those people still, or like being in that community. And so I was like, I need to start like figuring out how to get into the gay community. And so I slowly started making friends with just
Grindr.
Well, yeah. Well, I also want to shout out a couple. It was interesting in BYU. They had a students can come and like meet queer students event, so that the queer students can like share their experiences. So I was like,
glass box.
Yes, yeah. It was really weird. Like,
I don't want to catch it.
Yeah. And so I went to that, and this was part of my coming out too, though. There was a kid named Danny Neiman, shout out to Danny, who shared his experience about just being like kind of gay. He wasn't even like, he was like, I kissed a boy once. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And so that helped me, like, that kind of like helped me come out. And then Twitter on top of that, because of what you guys had done, honestly, for me, like, I feel like you guys at least gave me a fan base that at least kind of introduced me to more queer people in my DMs and in my likes. And they were like, yeah, it just felt like a very, like, yeah, people would just message me all the time and be like, I saw this elf on the shelf reviews and I had to come through. And so, yeah, I have to thank you for that, because that genuinely did help me, at least at BYU. And so we started building these, like, kind of a bit more of a queer community. I'm not going to say it was, like, giant at that point. I'd met a couple people here and there. And then the policy change at BYU's honor code, that whole switch was amazing, because then that suddenly made it so that all of us had to be, or like wanted to be together. We were like, oh, we can date. And so we had, like, I went to a giant party where everyone was kissing. It was just very fun, like very gay, right? There was like everyone dancing and singing. I went to like 3 parties that weekend, honestly, that was just like, come and meet other queer people, right? And even fun fact, I like had planned to have my own. I was like, I want to do a big backyard party, and just like, we had organized everything. I was like using my TikTok money at the time. I was like, the TikTok sponsorship money had started coming in. So I was like, I'm going to make it like amazing. And so essentially what ended up happening was that they obviously reversed the policy. We protested. I remember I was in the stupid statistics class, and I couldn't think about anything else. I was just so enraged, like, I don't know what to do. I just started bawling. I was at the back of the class bawling, and luckily it was a giant room. And I am an ugly crier. Like,
and
I'm
statistics teachers are used to people just breaking down there.
Well, especially at that time. Like, yeah, I was like, she probably knows. She's like, wow, this is a hard concept for this guy. And so I went upstairs, and right as soon as the class got done, and I just remember seeing the little, someone had spread it around Twitter where it was like, meet in the foyer of whatever that place is by the Wilkinson Center. And so I immediately started walking straight there, and I just remember seeing a giant crowd, and it was all the people that I had gotten to know of those 2 weeks, as well as just more students who were supporting people. Obviously, they were definitely in the minority. It was weird to see. I had to walk through a crowd of people, and to hear them all be like so judgmental and like, I just wish they wouldn't be so like in your face. Like, it was just that type of narrative. While I was walking through, like, people were like, they're protesting again. Oh, they're doing this. Like, and so I don't think people understand like just how conservative it is there. And like, they want to say that like, oh, BYU students are fine. They just like, they're not homophobic in the way of like addressing it, right? They're homophobic on the low, at least the majority of them. There was definitely people there that were just out with homophobes that were trying to get us to shut up. But like, I feel like the majority of, and hopefully it's changing now, but with Gen Z and all this sort of stuff. And I feel like that is happening. But yeah, to walk through that crowd of people and have people be so hateful was so crazy. So that made my emotions even worse. And then immediately there was this girl who I made friends with over those 2 weeks, and she just started walking towards me, and we both just like hugged each other without any prompt or anything. It was just so interesting, and I just started bawling. And it's really like, it's to kind of go back into those moments and just like be like, why did I go to BYU, right? Like, it was like, what was the purpose of going to the school that you were taught, honestly, I was taught was like the pinnacle of like goodness, right? Like, my dad, being American, he always wanted us to come to America, specifically to BYU. So there was like no other option on the table. It was like, you're going to get an education and you're going to go to BYU, period. Like, I had an opportunity to go to NYU and gave that up to go to BYU because, I don't know, I just was, that was the thing, right? It was like, you go to BYU. And so, yeah, like, it was
Harvard
just kind
of the West, named after one of America's great moral teachers.
Well, it was just this magical Mormon school in the mountains. Was like how it was always told. Like, it's gonna be amazing, and no one drinks. And I was like, wow, this is so fun. Oh, so interesting. Because even in Zimbabwe, I wasn't like super staunchly Mormon. Like, but I think that's also because we got like watered down Mormonism, right?
Yeah.
I remember only one time.
Trickle down.
Yeah, but genuinely, like it was like, we won't talk about all the racism. Let's just like keep that to the American members, and then American members would come over and tell us weird stuff, and we'd be like, what the fuck? Like I remember a mission president told, he got all the temple, what's it called? Temple endowed people in a room and told them about how heaven is polygamist. And everyone, like my mom's sisters were like, what the fuck? We did not know this. Like, what is happening? And so my dad, being the only American, had to be the one to be like, this is the history. This is what's happening. Sorry he didn't preface or like give you any like. Yeah.
That seems like the first move of someone who's about to ask someone to be his spiritual wife.
Yeah.
Usually how that goes down.
It was
gauge the reaction and be like, oh, you
well,
right.
And then that was the weird thing is when I went into the MTC, at that point I was just doing it culturally, I think. I look back and I was like, I had never read the Book of Mormon even up until I went on my mission. Like, I didn't know shit about it. Like, I talked about this with Lauren and my friends Lauren and Adam yesterday, but in high school, I used to do seminary, and we had seminary where you had to do homework.
Oh yeah, I did that one.
Yeah, you had to go once a week, and so like, I never did the homework because I was like, I can't. And then they always have like these makeup moments, right, where you're like, you can graduate if you do a certain amount of work, and so I was like, that was always me. Like I was like, I don't do it. But one time I tried to do homework, and it was on Pearl of Great Price. It was that year. And I was like, I should just ask a Christian kid. Moses is a Christian prophet, so I'll just ask him about it. And I was like, it says it's in Book of Moses 2, verses 3 and 5. And he was like, there is no fucking Book of Moses. I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, just like weird stuff like that, like growing up where I didn't know anything about Mormonism. And then
didn't know the king was Bigfoot, nothing.
Genuinely though, like it's so crazy. And then
rookie.
So I actually had a friend who got baptized while I was on my mission. He's African, obviously, and he came over here. I helped him get into LDS Business College. He converted. It was like, yeah, well, that's fine. His roommate for 2 months didn't talk to him, and then was like, oh, sorry, man. Sorry I haven't been talking to you. The reason is because I grew up believing that black people have been cursed because they were kind of the in-betweeners in heaven, and you guys actually got burned by the veil. And so he messaged me on my mission being like, what is this? And I was like, bitch, I don't know what the fuck that is. I was like, wait, what the fuck? And so I had to like, all of this like weird stuff started like just progressively getting worse and worse, I feel like. And it kind of reached a peak at BYU where I was like, I don't really know what to believe in. I don't know what to do. I started watching Zelf on the Shelf and listening to John DeLynn. But I was curious. I was like, clearly there's stuff that they don't tell me. And this is kind of all happening right as I was like coming out. But it, again, as I was going through BYU, I was like, I just need to finish. I just need to get this over and done with. But in that moment, suddenly it became like, in the moment of me dealing with the protests and stuff, I was like, I have this platform now. So I did a vibe check for BYU. It was like the second or third vibe check video ever, which was nice. And that got a lot of attention. And we started building up media attention. I was like, I am fully trying to get BYU canceled. Like, I was like, I want them to get shut the fuck down because the church has been lying to me my whole life. BYU has been lying to me my entire university career, as well as the fact that like I've never felt welcome really here, right? And it was just proven in that moment, especially when I was walking through that crowd. It was like nobody really just wants to love people here. It's all with these like weird preface, like I don't know, just like prefixes and stuff where they like want to I don't know. There's choose how to love. Yeah, terms and conditions that they like want to put on you. And so it was such a weird experience. But in that moment I was angry. I tried finishing that semester after the fact. Terrible. I was locked down. Oh, well, that was the other thing. All the media attention started building. And then the next week was lockdown.
Oh, God.
So COVID had started killing people. So BYU suddenly was not enough of a story. So the Rainbow Y, the lighting of the Rainbow Y, fun fact, this might also be tea, is actually, it was created, I don't know if they want me to actually say it though. I'll hold off. Someone else.
Send in the super chance to tempt.
Someone else off of Twitter approached me about it first and said, I want to do a big protest and this is the best way to do it because they can't get you in trouble for spray painting or anything. And now luckily, Color the Campus uses that same way to protest. And again, it's amazing. But I just remember planning that out. We were getting ready. That's why I was having the queer party. I was going to recruit a ton of people at this party I was going to throw, but then...
The gay agenda in action.
Literally, I was like, I'm done faking like this is okay. Like, these people need to be called out on their shit, and like, this is stupid. But it all kind of just got taken away with COVID. And again, COVID was a big problem, but it's crazy that every single time it's going to get addressed in some way, shape, or form, either BYU finds a way to shut it down quicker, or stuff just happens that's slightly bigger. And it's like, no, like, we need to have a moment where people are, Mormons particularly, need to address face-to-face queer students with what they've done to them, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of messy. And again, we got our protests. The Color the Campus protests have been incredible. And yeah, I wasn't even like fully a part of that, but it was just, I like remember going out and seeing the Rainbow Y and just bawling because I was like, this is what it's about. Like, it's about showing people that you're fucking there. Like, because I just grew up, at least in my whole BYU experience, there was no gay guys out. Like, and I feel like a lot of us kind of all had that moment. Like, you look at the Maddie Eastons and, like, to a lesser extent, Charlie Birds, right? Like, people coming out and being like, we're gay, so stop treating us like we're not here, type vibes. And then you go through the pandemic. At the start of the pandemic, I dropped out of BYU immediately. I was like, I'm done. I'm finished. Don't want to be a part of this stuff. It's stupid. And everyone was like, you have one semester left. Like, you literally have 6 credits left. Why are you doing this? And I was like, because it's out of principle for me. I was like, and I can transfer those credits maybe, but I was like, but I also feel like school is not my vibe. Like, I was like, school, I'm a comedian. Like, I was like, and it's going well enough that I can, like, have that choice. And then in amongst lockdown and at that moment I guess what inspired that moment was I tried weed, and I tried coffee, and I tried alcohol. I was experimenting. I had sex.
Wow, life just really down the drain.
What a sinner. It was so fun to just kind of, confirm what I had always kind of believed, and what I had kind of seen in your guys' videos particularly was just, there's just so much stuff that they have lied to me about, but never really like had thought of how far do the lies go. Like, it's one thing to lie about history, but I still kind of had like this belief in God and being like, there's a higher being that has control. I was like, I had fasted a couple times and passed exams, and I was like, God's real. It wasn't the studying. It was just God. That was who helped me in that. And so, yeah, I think it was actually interesting. We talk about the wanting to hold the guy's hand. The moment I was literally like, God doesn't exist was, or at least I had been lied to, was I was cuddling with a guy, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is literally like absolute heaven for me. Like, I feel so loved. It was just beautiful. And so I was like, shit, they've lied to me about a lot of stuff probably. And that's when weed, alcohol. I tried coffee. Coffee was the very last thing I tried, which was really funny. So I was like, that was a weird journey to go on. I also first time I ordered coffee was, I ordered black coffee. I didn't know how to order coffee. I was like, I don't know what's good. So I was just like, I'll just try coffee and put sugar in it. And they were like, okay. It tasted like burnt popcorn. I was like,
garbage water, awesome.
Great. But great for the energy. And now I know how to order coffee and make it slightly. My roommate has been educating me on how to do it. So, yeah. And then I'm trying to think what else happened in between all of that, other than the regular stuff, which is I quit the church. I didn't want to do it anymore. I've been very vocal about stuff, and now we're just dealing with like personal, all of my family is still in the church, and I struggle with that a lot. We have regular conversations about it, but I also have found a beautiful community of queer people around me that support me in everything. And honestly, a lot of people from Provo is most eligible. I have to give it up. And again, you guys giving me the community, the actual queer community to back me in those moments. And yeah, I thank you guys. Sorry, I might cry, but you guys are really great. So I really appreciate it. So yeah. Sorry, I cry.
Love you so much.
My emotional side is something I'm exploring recently. So.
No, I finished a book last night and I sobbed for half an hour just thinking about how everyone I love will die.
Yeah.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
So, just a safe space to say no.
And on that note,
The
let's talk
money!
about the super chats. Lonely Distance says you can buy anything in this world for money, including a Tomsters crossover.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Fred Eaton says, some money for a classic. Put on some flipping deodorant, goddess motivational speech.
Yes.
If Dan Ban is up to it.
Yes, I'm down. I actually haven't done that in a while, but I have to get into the mode. So, a quick fun fact before I even tried to do this well, but that was also kind of before I dropped out of BYU. I was working at MTC Security, and I have a whole bunch of stories about that.
Oh.
I did MTC Security, watching all these 18-year-olds like try and get ready to go out on missions was so weird. But we were we had to like go and help them with it. Late at night, I always worked night shifts, and when I go home, the streets were empty, so I just scream at the top of my lungs motivations at people, and it went viral. So I thank you for that. So I won't do it as loud because we're in an apartment building. But, you're really going to deny yourself your blessings when you're that beautiful, you fucking bitch. You are gorgeous. You're a boss-ass hoe, and you better bring the motherfucking money in, because you are, and always will be, a goddess, an empress, and a queen.
Oh my God.
I haven't done that in a while.
I felt that.
Me too. I feel so
Resonated.
motivated. That was just the inspirational speech these two girl bosses needed.
Yes. You channeled
Thank
some universal consciousness in that because
Gabriella Morgan says, Dan, you are one of the creators that helped me in my coming out to myself as bi. Wishing you all the love and light that life can offer.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Melissa Jane, 42, says, y'all are amazing. And Janae O says, Daniel, I'm so excited to see this collab. I wish I had gotten here earlier.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, you can always go back and watch
Yeah.
it.
you
Let's
can
go back and
always
watch
go back,
it.
click the ads.
Support.
The choice is yours.
Feel free to keep sending super chats as we go through. We'll make sure we read them. Real quick, so getting back to your story, you've left BYU, you've left the church.
Yeah.
What's happening now for you?
A lot is happening.
Yeah,
a lot is happening now. So to be honest with you, I have been on a bit of a hiatus. Obviously leaving the church and kind of actually being gay as opposed to just wanting to like say I'm gay. I'm gay. Kind of exploring that part of myself has been a journey, and one filled with therapy, filled with a lot of shrooms trips, honestly, and just trying to like process it all. The nice thing, and I hope he's okay with me sharing this. I think he'll be fine. But Keaton and I actually moved in together as roommates over, I guess it was like fall of 2020 to about summer of 2021. And we kind of all just went through a learning process, and he was kind of pivotal in helping me, him as well as, and I do want to shout these people out because they are great, and they probably would love that I'm doing this on your channel. Ethan Bliss, shout out to Ethan Bliss.
Ethan.
He is very well versed in anti-Mormon doctrine, or just the history of the church, and so he kind of helped me figure out stuff, and I didn't really need to know the history to leave the church. I was like, I'm gay, that's all I need to know, really. But he kind of just confirmed a lot of stuff for us. He just took us through like all the kind of crazy moments. It was very fun. Our house became kind of a place where people got de-indoctrinated, because we just all talk about in depth our feelings on topics we'd never really thought to even talk about because we were Mormon previously. Keaton in that moment was really great. He was just a great friend to me, and we just kind of learned from each other, and like going through it with the other roommates, Nate and Jake and Landon. They were all really fun. And coming to now, it has been pivotal in that I feel like for a little while I wanted to kind of forget about the church. I was like, I'm just going to leave quietly and just like not come back. I just want to go somewhere else and never talk about this again. But I actually started doing therapy this year. Fun fact. And good therapy, not conversion therapy. And it's been interesting because only in like the last 2 months have I really started kind of I've begun that journey back into stand-up and social media. And it's been wonderful. But as I have shared kind of the same experience that I shared in this live stream today, all of the comedians that I meet, all of the social media influencers that I meet, and particularly my therapist, shout out to Mimi Knowles.
Mimi, we love you.
If you're in Nashville and you want good therapy, Mimi Knowles. It is basically just kind of culminating in this moment. All of these people in my life have told me, like, you shouldn't try to forget it because it's what makes you unique. And that narrative is something that people need. In the same way that as I look back, had we been able to kind of go through with like the protest stuff, and had we been able to kind of go through with kind of everything that I had planned out before the pandemic hit, I think we could have made a lot of positive change. And the nice thing though, for me, is that I didn't even really need to be a part of those moments, and people are doing that anyway. But I think it's time for me to get back into that space and say, Mormonism is fucking weird at times. Actually, most of the time.
Sometimes.
All of its history. It's really hard because I feel like a lot of people have told me to respect their belief system. But it's weird that they don't feel like I deserve that respect back, you know? And so, yeah, I've started putting that into my stand-up sets. I am a gay ex-Mormon who also happens to be from Africa, and those parts of me are important and all have value. And I'm just grateful that you guys and everyone probably on this live stream and everyone who's kind of supported me in this journey has like been there for that, because it's all kind of been a weird ride for the past 2 years. And yeah, I am planning to make a big comeback soon. So
well, let this be the start.
That's what this was, bitch.
In my mind,
I was like, Zelf on the shelf, they're the motherfuckers who can do this for me. I was like, if 2 bitches could do it, it's these 2. So.
Well, I never knew you went anywhere. As far as I knew, you were just killing it all the time.
We had
nonstop.
no idea you even went on a hiatus.
I've had a couple moments being like, this is so surreal.
You must be doing things just too big for us to even do. It's also interesting hearing about your experience with Provo is Most Eligible, because I kind of had the impression that like, oh, he's doing this show like as a favor or like just as like a kind of a funny addition to his career.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it as being like a big thing for you, just because I was like, well, because I think we knew pretty early on that you had like 500,000 followers on TikTok.
Which I'm sure is
and we had seen your
huge draw
TikToks
for
and
you
we were like,
being on the
oh,
show,
he's
'cause
just,
they're
yeah.
So, yeah, and it was kind of... honestly, I missed the first audition for casting, and Remy was just like, it's fine. You can just come
Good
through.
choice, Remington.
And I think he purposely targeted at least me and Keaton, because he was like, we need influencers on the show.
Sanity as well.
That too, probably. Yeah, he's like, please, some normal people too.
So for the people who are now new fans of your work, where can they find you, see what you're up to?
Follow me on all social media. It's danbanbam on all of my social profiles. YouTube, it's Daniel Spencer. So we'll see how that goes. These guys are going to give me advice on how to do that. So let's see how that goes.
Have us on your show. Advice
yes.
number 1.
Okay, if I am going to have people on my channel, it's going to be... Oh, actually, though, that would be so fun. You guys are the Tomsters?
Yes, that would be so fun.
We can just take turns alternating for each other's channels. We'll be like, everybody's channels deserve a little love.
And then we'll move into a hype house together.
Yeah.
Do the bang energy drink things. It's going to be great.
Get bang. I actually did G Fuel. I did a sponsorship to Dan. That was what a journey, what a ride. Love G Fuel though. Yeah, so good.
Buy G Fuel.
Buy G Fuel.
We're also making Dan read an episode. Do people call you Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can call me
read
Dan.
an episode of Ladies First with us after this, so that will be an edited video, probably going up in the next few days.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're going to read some MAGA fiction.
If you enjoyed the tea being spilled about the MAGA characters from Provo's Most Eligible, we're going to transfer that
Quite
energy.
the crossover, yeah.
Yeah.
We love it.
All right, well, thank you so much for
Thank you for
joining
having
us.
us.
Thanks for all the people who super chatted.
Love you so much.
Sorry, what were you
No,
saying?
I'm just blown away because we were such big fans based on your comedy, and you're just the loveliest person too, and
Thank
so
you.
sincere, and also so good at just storytelling. Like,
Thanks.
you're a brilliant storyteller.
Appreciate it. Well, also, these guys, at least you are starting stand-up. Go and watch these guys.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow night I'm performing in Wise Guys. Anyone in Salt Lake? Come
Yes,
see.
please. Also, subscribe to their channel. Can I say that?
Do it.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciated this. Like, as soon as the message came through, guys, you don't even know what a dream it was. I've been watching these guys for 4 years at BYU being like, they are making valid points.
We were like, he's too big for us. We couldn't ask. We couldn't, should we?
I remember when
We had to like hype ourselves up.
We
Should've-
did.
If we had got your motivational speech beforehand, we would have done this
something
years
we needed.
ago.
Yes, seriously.
I just remember one time, the first time you guys ever like responded to something, I think you tweeted at me about something, and I just remember being like, like freaking out, and I couldn't tell anyone because they were like, oh, because I had like all Mormon roommates, and so I was like, who do I tell about this? And I remember like phoning my one ex-Mormon friend, and I was like, you know Zelf on the Shelf? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, they just tweeted at me. So yeah, just trust me, I'm a fangirl. I'm a stan. So yeah, very fun.
Well, thank you so much. This was
Thank
such
you.
a fun
And thank
time.
you all for joining us, and especially those of you who super chatted us. Also, we
And-
have a Patreon if you want to support the channel.
Yes.
Yeah, patreon.com/Zelf on the Shelf. Okay, love you so much. Catch
Bye.
you next time.